All right, well, good afternoon. It's our April meeting, MNRCC. Thank you all for joining in, and we have a quorum, which is very nice. And so I will ask for approval of the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. In a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Got that done. The minutes were prepared by the staff and they were distributed here and also by email. I'll move that, make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. All right, so chair's reports. So thankfully there is not a lot to report. Most of it is just to keep a record of things.
Chair report, those are the meeting minutes from last month. Those your chair report. That's it.
Yeah, it starts off with the changes in the schedules for as of March the 29th. And so they're all listed there. And extra service running in support of the Yankees. They had the Transit Authority ran their museum trains up there, and they were very, very popular. And I saw the videos and very well patronized. As far as the other side of the Hudson where I live, the problem is with New Jersey Transit and FIFA. The high $150 to go 12 months. If they say 12 months, it's not that much, but hopefully they can make some kind of a resolution between that so that the people don't have to pay those exorbitant rates. I mean, I can remember when they Super Bowl there was how many was it, 2004? Was
At 2005 maybe? Yeah, I heard
it was a mess.
maybe 8. Slightly more. It was Super Bowl 50.
It was a horrible mess, absolutely horrible mess. How they were unable to get the people to and from the stadium. The whole thing should have been redesigned.
Every week is a horrible mess. Every attempt to get there, every concert, every football game, everything that happens there is a horrible transit mess. Just saying.
The suggestion was made years ago that they, instead of terminating the trains at the station, they should have extended it into a loop. This way the trains could come around, discharge passengers or pick up passengers and keep going on, and not have to back up or go to reverse and go out. But of course, that never was done. So anyway, and then to restrict the use of Penn Station 4 hours before really puts the screw into the regular commuters. But well, that's their issue to resolve. There's not much that we can do here on our side. And I don't have anything else here to report. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Just separately, I keep track of my train's arrivals to Hoboken from Suffolk. And it's like in February, we were late like 11 out of 18 times.
Wow.
Like, and when I say late, it's like you pull in, the doors open, I see what time it is, and if it's 7 or more minutes, we're late.
Yeah.
They did a lot better in March. I think I only recorded like 3 times that they were more than 6 minutes late. And so far this month, only 3 times. And today we got in 1 minute early. So that was shocking.
Here.
Maybe to make up for Monday when they were 2 cars short, and it was.
Was that out of Suffolk?
Yeah, it was the Port Jervis line. Yeah. So
I had a trip yesterday to the city with some friends, and I decided to take a much earlier train because the train that I took only makes 5 stops. It's a beautiful train. And on Monday, the train ahead of it was canceled. They put that into local service. So we will not work out yesterday.
I will say that I have been speaking to people who are on that Super Express on the east side of the river who love it, absolutely love it. They've changed their whole life. But that's the way they talk about the Poughkeepsie trains. It gets them where they're going much faster. And they use the words "change my life," and so there is that. from. There's some good news there.
So with that,
I did, so I will say, I was, riding Amtrak, on a trip and saw work, a lot of work going on. It was outside of, Hastings. It looked like they were shoring up where the mudslide had been. Is that,
I remember that.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot, it looks like they're building
Was it that first, it was someone's house?
someone's house,
Yeah.
yeah. But the work that they did was, it looks like they're building a well. Take a
well, I
picture.
went past there this morning, but my head was buried in my newspaper, so I did not look,
Yeah,
but I will look.
but they're building a concrete,
Well,
yeah, well, no, it's more like a giant well.
is it the Metro North's building or the homeowner?
Well, it's on, looks like it's on Metro North property. But you can see it's right by this, you can't see in my picture, but it's right down the hill from the steps of where the slide happened.
So let me tell us.
Which is, yeah. It doesn't say whose bulldozer it is, but if it's on the property, it has to be sanctioned, I would think. I would hope. I'll send you the picture.
Last.
Yeah.
See if someone can answer that. So with that, you're up and welcome back to the BCAC.
Thank you. I was out for a month and then on accommodation. Today is my first in-person day back. I will be in and out for the in-person and out-person body for the next week. But I want to sincerely again thank it's an incredible small but mighty PCAC team for not just carrying the torch, but being the torch of getting things done and really representing not just riders and the organization, but making a mark and making a difference. The work that you've done on fares in particular has taken off and really captured the attention of people from not just throughout the city, but from Long Island to up to Albany, and we're hopeful that will have some fruit. The tree that has already grown. I am not going to talk a lot because I have not been here. So I will say that we, as you know, Jack Connors left, and we are in the process of filling his position. So that is to be continued. That process has begun. It's an MTA hiring process. And I'm not going to say a lot more about that because I can't cross in our public meeting. So, but I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
We're making some progress.
We're making progress, and actually, the folks we've been working with have been terrific. So, if the people agree, the process is the process. Brian, why don't you take us?
Yeah.
Brian, Kara,
Just to put a little color on some of the city stuff Lisa touched on. With Fair Fares, we secured a joint hearing between the General Welfare Committee and Transportation Committee on May 6th. We're going to do a rally and then invite, we've already invited GRC to testify at that hearing. Should be really, really great to have the most attention the program has gotten from the city council for years since it launched essentially.
I just want to jump in. And the relevance to Metro North and the council is, of course, because one of the asks that we have, it's a little bit outside of this hearing, is to expand fares to Metro North and within New York City at this time, because it's a city program that would allow people to use fares and as an extension of that to allow transfers to subways and buses to an extended city ticket like some. That's a different conversation, but I just wanted to sort of encapsulate the relevance, the even greater relevance.
Yeah. I think the other thing that we've been thinking about and would you know, if you have thoughts about it, is whether or not there might be an appetite at the county level outside of the city to institute like a similar transportation oriented program, there as well, that would give reduced fares, or either on the trains or, Beeline or whatever, not necessarily in Rockland, obviously, since the buses are already free, but, places where folks are struggling to meet the fare, whether there's a similar program that might be able to help jumpstart outside of the city. But it's exciting. The council's been pushing really hard for it. It's somewhat in opposition to the mayor's free bus plan, but we think there's also an opportunity to explore both. Speaking of buses, there's also been good progress with the new leadership at New York City DOT. And we hope bus service will improve in the city to become faster and more reliable. Hope that will extend beyond the city limits as well as we build momentum for better bus service regionally.
I'm going to jump in again because I want to shout out the work that this team has done to really, and the work that Henry did on the BRT report, the bus rapid transit report, that really has captured the attention of not just the council leadership, but many other organizations too, and sort of catapulted us into of the better bus system. With people who have been doing that for some time. Not necessarily free buses, but definitely faster.
In Albany, we've had some progress. We had a couple of our pieces of legislation included in the Senate's one house budget. Obviously, you're still waiting on the state budget for this year. It's unclear to me whether or not anything will be included, or as in years past will just be in the Senate, not in any final bill, but we're hopeful there. We are working through amendments on our Rider Act. I forget exactly what the acronym stands for. Rider Interests Deserve Empowering Representatives, representation. It does three main things. It allows us to make interim appointments when we haven't.
Who's the us? Us?
Yes, PCAC and the councils to make interim appointments when we have long vacancies and unresponsive elected officials. It like MNRCC currently does, it would allow the other two councils to have local elected officials make recommendations for the rider councils in addition to the county executives, which would be particularly helpful in places where we've had unresponsive county teams. Yeah, it's on the back there. So we're working through amendments to ensure that the MTA is okay with all of it. There's also some provisions to kind of clarify our independence. We're working through those with them to make a final bill that they can move with. Likewise, the Rider Rep Act, which would give Randy, Andrew, and Jerry a vote on the MTA board, has made some progress, but is a little bit swimming upstream this year. We're going to keep pushing on it, but it's kind of
Yeah. is out of it.
This is the first year that they've expressed opposition though. So.
Are there potential commuter council members that are currently on hold, waiting for somebody to approve that?
No, the bigger, kink in the pipeline, so to speak, is getting people actually recommended to the governor's office. That's where, especially on MNRCC, where we only have 5 of the 13 members. We don't have a good partner in Nassau County to work with. Suffolk has been responsive, but a little slow in getting names. We do have a bill that would make it a lot easier to change the number of nominees that we need the elected officials to make from 3 to 1. Long Island Railroad Council is the only one that does it that way. And that bill has actually moved the furthest. It's already passed the Assembly. It just passed the committee in the Senate earlier this week. So it's aging on the Senate floor right now, but theoretically that could be passed and on the governor's desk as early as sometime next week, which we're hopeful for.
We do actually, the Bronx borough president did put forward a name for council.
Which council?
This
Well,
one.
actually, both,
Oh,
but they put the same name forward for both, so I know that
Proceeding with this.
this, right, this one. Because as we've discussed in the past, that would be a violation of the one person, one vote rule at the PCAC level, to have one person represent two councils.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We looked at that for TRC and LARCC. We looked at it, we didn't look at it,
I
but
always like to see more people.
yeah. But we but they're going through that, we actually just inquired about it, and they're doing their, the governor's office who does the background checks is the background checks, so receiving.
So that's a short recap on Albany related items. The other big thing that we did since we met last was put out a report about transit ridership, but specifically subway ridership in the past year as congestion pricing was implemented. We saw that subway ridership had really been slowing post-COVID. The growth had gone from 30% a couple of years ago to 15% 2 years ago, down to 3.5% last year. But it rebounded nicely. We had 7.7% growth from 24 to 25. So we were able to tell a really nice positive story and look station by station around the city at where the biggest growth in ridership was as a result of the program and some of the anti-fare evasion work that the MTA has been doing and a lot of the other initiatives. Kara worked most directly on that one.
Yes, and Benji, our other fabulous intern, did a lot of really great data wizardry there. We were able to narrow in on some different time periods, like the morning peak on weekdays and then also weekends. And we had some really interesting takeaways. And across the board, it seems like discretionary weekend travel is booming across both the railroads, the subways. And that's very encouraging that people are taking transit when they don't need to be. And so we have some recommendations about improving service along those patterns, but highly recommend taking a look at that report because it was very exciting.
Was it, and it was well received by the MTA, which is always nice to hear.
Yes.
The state controller put out a report last week that also looked at increases in ridership, including on, and actually particularly on the railroads. And it came out surprisingly not with the same results. So we are in conversations with them about meeting to talk about getting them on to work a little more closely so that we all come out with things at the same time. But it's a great validator also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just thinking back to last fall, the leaf peeper trains were all crowded. That's kind of on the Hudson line. They ran extra service, so Walter was out photographing trains, and he said he also made that same observation. So
It's encouraging.
yeah.
And on that point, there's two data sets that are coming out on the MTA's open data portal that we haven't had access to in the past that we're really excited about. One that looks at, it has the origin and destination of all the ticket purchases that are being made on the railroads, which will give us a lot more insight into how people are using the rails. And what's the other one there?
The on-time performance.
On-time performance, yeah.
Yes, that might be focused on the Long Island Railroad, but there's a lot of data sets actually coming out in the next couple of months that are very promising. So we're excited to jump into those and see what conclusions we can make.
This all happened after that first event that you and I came to there.
Yeah, that was focused more on the capital side of things. So this is more
Yes.
day-to-day operations stuff.
And we've been involved in the open data movement and efforts since even before there was legislation to require that. But as vocal independent voices of riders before the fashionable to have that data readily available. So that's when
Data comes out, well, we have a better sense of how people are responding to the new fares and how they're coming.
well,
Yeah.
that's all, yeah,
So-
that, but also Reddit is a good, yeah.
Yes, I'll get into the response to the fares in my social media report. I'm sure you have an idea. There, it's
Just the higher fare, but
But-
the other options like the elimination of 10 trip, because
Yes.
personally, I have found I like the new approach. You know, it's like initially the response is, oh, there's a change, but you go in and then you get to a certain point and you think,
Go with it.
Yeah.
I think wait till the summer when all the 10-trip weekenders realize that they can't do that anymore, and there's gonna be a whole spike in complaints about it.
Yes, but the, to your question, the data set, we're hopeful will include broken down, ticket sales by very specific ticket type. And so that will help show what we call like voting with your feet, voting with your ticket prices, showing where people are putting their money into tickets and where, which tickets are being most used. And that will help us draw some conclusions about, say, one new ticket type isn't being used at all, done to help increase that, and we don't know how far back it will go, but that's something that I should ask about.
and also
Probably won't go back that far, but
in the ratio, but if we're getting more people to buy tickets on the app as opposed to the machines.
I think definitely, but that's been a trend.
I think they've said that 90% of people are buying tickets on the app at this point. I might be mixing that up with something else, but it's a very high percent of tickets that are sold on the app, I believe. But the data set theoretically should have paper versus digital tickets. I know we're hoping that it will look similar to the MTA's subway data set, which has extremely detailed numbers on swipes, taps, what kind of fare you use, whether you get the discount, fair shares, all these things. There's still a few swipes, but
Only swipes.
that's a good question. We should look at that data set.
Transit employees
Yeah,
don't have tap cards yet.
yeah,
I'm
probably
still
some
using
employees.
Pass on the
but,
express bus. How much you brought
I
it?
thought the last day to activate like a 30-day Metro card was like at the end of March.
I don't know if it does
It
it
was-
activate it?
I thought so. That it's
Buy it.
like,
Buy it or
Theoretically,
activate
if you
it?
had like $1,000 on a Metro card, you could still be
Oh.
using that, but all of the recurring fare options theoretically have been expired by now.
I know when I was here in March, at Central, over the Times Square, to get to Penn Station, I went through the, my God, I can't swipe here. Next one, next one. What am I gonna do? Next one. And finally, there was one I couldn't. It had been
They are
long.
Few and far between, those are being removed.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was one other thing I was gonna mention, I forgot. I got a notification from NJ Transit that back in February, when they started to put in service their new Portal North Bridge next to the Portal Bridge, that they were no longer gonna be issuing paper timetables because it changed there. February 4th, 15th, and then going back the other way, and then the 4th, they're gonna change again. Where they'll have with the second track. Right now, all the trains leaving Penn Station going towards Newark operate on the brand new bridge, which is higher on the westbound track, while the trains coming to Penn Station on the lower track, the old bridge, this way. And they have to make all kinds of changes, hopefully they learned something, how they put that bridge into service, that they can do it more expeditiously in the fall or whenever they choose to do it. But they stopped issuing timetables, and when they put the new shelter in place in Nanuet, and whoever was here for the dedication for Orrin Getz, they put a timetable, right? Because I asked for it, because New Jersey Transit was issuing timetables. And so anyway, I saw that they weren't issuing them anymore. And so my first day I went to the station, it became a repository for junk. People were throwing garbage in there. So I called the line superintendent and the guy in charge of the stations and had to remove it and asked them to put it away for safekeeping, just in case they decide to use it to timetable. So we'll have a place to live.
Interesting question, because on our list here of 2026 requesting for our priorities, we still have a print limited number of timetables. That's an unrealistic expectation based on what Tara has just shared, and maybe we should be updating this to remove things that just aren't.
Well, NJT It's a caucus, I spoke to the guy who runs the place, have a good relationship, and they printed out copies of what you can get on the website and print yourself if you have a printer. So he had copies of them there to give to the, but I'm sure they have it at Penn Station. I didn't stop by there, but I'm sure that they are giving them, just print it on paper like this. And the website has the same ability.
My biggest use of the timetables was not for the timetable itself, but for all the fair rules and whatever that were in that pamphlet. So it's like,
That's right.
you can, not bring bikes, or they have to be folding and they have to be in place.
Nobody cares about that.
And there's hours you can't bring a bike on.
Yes, and it's like that part is like something that I would like to, if you're not gonna print the actual timetable part, I want to see a pamphlet or something with the fair rules for this particular line. Or my personal favorite thing to do is the change in terminal, because I have a Hoboken monthly. So sometimes I want to go to Penn. And even when I talk to the New Jersey Transit conductors, especially the ones that are on the coastline, we're heading out of Penn. They only have a limited amount of time to talk to them before we get to Secaucus. I'm like, I want to buy a change in terminal. I've got my $3.45 here, and I need you to punch out a ticket that will get me through the fare gate at Secaucus. And they look at my monthly and they're like, oh, they'll let you through. Don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I can't get through the fare gate without the ticket, and only you can give it to me like right now. And
Do it.
I have never had a situation where they couldn't find someone. There have been very many anxious moments where we're like, we come out of the tunnel, we're like 1 minute from Secaucus, and it's like, take my money.
But they're on some machines.
The machines won't give you a change in terminal. You have to buy a one-way from those only sell you
And there's
Penn
no-
Station.
There's no personnel, there's no staff.
Yeah, you stand there, but they.
Yes, they don't sell anything. The only person who can sell it to you is a conductor on a train. That's the only time you can buy a change in terminal.
They have people with the gates there that
Right.
help the customers and then they see me, they're happy, and
That's
before they open the gate.
that's the only time. So
So-
Right.
it's a sense of stress for me.
That's
a lot.
interesting. So one of our major focal points is hoping that we can do one city, one fare for make all of the railroads one fare within New York City, not just for city ticket, which is one day or 1 week, but seriously, ticket weekly. No, but 1 day or one day, but to add for a weekly so that it's not 7 different fares out there, 11 different. My brain is not back to work at 6.
That have to be approved as part of fare increase hearings, or can it be done?
It could be done as a pilot. But you would think that they could do that with Hoboken and Secaucus. To make that one zone so that people who have a monthly could do that.
I would think that even if you made the machines, like I have to walk up.
As a monthly,
Yeah.
that you should be able to
Well,
do that as a university.
I have to walk up to someone at the gate and show them this paper ticket, and they just let me through. But even if I could use the machine,
$3.45, the guy
Yeah.
wouldn't give me a ticket.
no, even if I could use the machine and print out a ticket that's only valid with my monthly. So it's like, here's my monthly and here's this thing from a machine, let me through, and that would be okay.
I'll email somebody there to you.
But what I'm saying is, it should be that it's the same zone. And it
Well,
should be that you shouldn't need to have an extra ticket for a transfer. Because if it's a change in terminal for a similar line.
Well, I know it is because it's like my monthly goes to Hoboken and it's $300, but if I went to Penn, it would be like $395 or something like that, like $100 more. So
Okay.
I can see how that switch doesn't,
Yeah,
cost a lot.
right, well, there's a whole river.
Yeah,
The cross honoring for Metro North is the monthly Hoboken tickets are honored from Irvington South. That's
Yes.
zone 4, but if you have a Penn ticket, it's good from Croton Harmon, or mostly from people in Tarrytown. It's Grand Central.
So going back to Mama, for your comments about the policy. Now, I know on the app, you can see whether bikes are allowed or not. Is there no place else in the app where the policy is listed?
I think you have to, well, I use the New Jersey Transit app most, right? Because I'm on west of Hudson. But you just have to like search around to get to the right spot where the different policies are. And, you've got your fare policy, you got your bike policy, you got your,
So my question is, from the standpoint of objective, should we be asking our technology people to somehow make, because the problem with communication is the illusion that it has occurred. So if you have to have me click through all the stuff, I'm never going to get there.
Right.
And maybe there is a simpler drop down that you could.
I think there was like a timetable equivalent where a printed timetable equivalent where you have the timetables where you're looking up what trains what. Yeah, I know, but the other
On
part.
train time, at least for the railroad train time app, it's if you just go to the bottom, there's more, and then the first thing you see, there's a whole drop down. You'll see the timetables for both railroads, lost and found, bike policy. Of course, you have to go to the more section, but it is pretty visibly listed on the app. However, what I was going to say is that, and talking about paper printed timetables and just better communicating schedules and such, Henry's working on a signage and wayfinding report right now. There may be room for us to recommend something about more visibly and in more places showing schedules and stations in a signage sort of way, like a digital signage.
QR code,
Yes, or maybe not the full timetable, but making sure that the schedule information is really visible and changing in a prompt manner, things like that, versus printing it physically.
Getting people to understand that all they have to do is click on more and there's a menu, because digital adopters don't always explore those things.
It's true.
Not everybody has access to, not just smartphones, but
Most people with smartphones.
yeah, I know, but cellular service,
Oh, I see.
right? They need Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe you're a foreign traveler and you've shown up in the US and now it's like, I have to get to Cold Spring. How do I do that then? I don't have data here in the US.
If you're a foreign traveler and you haven't gotten data in here in the US, there's something wrong. I mean, seriously, when I'm going overseas, I'm figuring out how I'm gonna get my data.
the biggest problem when you first land and if you land at JFK and you try and get your family through off the air train, it's
No service.
You have a problem tapping out because your credit card may not register or it may get a fraud alert. You can't get 4 people through.
Same card.
It's the same card.
Yeah.
Peter from Metro North has
Peter.
hand raised.
You're good because I have a question for you too. Only you can answer it.
I'll do my best. So the wayfinding and station mapping is actually an interesting conversation. 2 things. One, you may have come across this with your Long Island Railroad Commuter Council. They are investigating GCM about what they could do. They've taken a number of different pieces of information. Obviously, it's not a landmark building, so they may be easier to make some changes just in Grand Central Madison alone. Internally at Grand Central Terminal, the station operations folks who work obviously across a couple of different departments in the they are looking at the current signage as is. Anything that maybe, if the lettering is incorrect or it's, the stenciling is getting warped, they're going to obviously look to update that as well. Interesting enough, I was in Cold Spring just the other day. So I did observe, sort of that issue of, okay, when I get off to that station, where can I go? Is there a sign? Is there a QR code? So it's not something we are, how would I say, haven't considered and looked at. There's a few things that are at play. I know you were talking about train time. I've had some discussions. I know you guys have met with Will Fisher in prior years. So his team deals with the train time app. Grand Central Terminal, I think you're aware, it's managed by Spinoso Management Group. So they manage the website. The way train time is currently working, and I know some people are saying, what if you don't have a phone? What if, your phone's not working? What if you're not digitally inclined? How do you handle the signage and wayfinding? Let me just, on the digital piece, right now we're redirecting people to the websites that we typically own and maintain. So if I'm at Cold Spring and I want to know if there's any parking, I would be redirected on the train time app to go. And it may not be as easy to find that information, but it redirects you to the MTA website, which then will have more details on that specific station. And say New Haven's Union Station are kind of, different animals, as you can imagine. There's different tenants that are there. There's a larger amount of tenants. There's a large amount of volume of people going through. So it is something that is being discussed. I don't have any specific plans that are underway. I do believe Spinoso Management Group is looking at some of the things on their side of the house. They manage the domain for grandcentralterminal.com, and they have to work with Metro North on any so-called signage within the terminal that they need to address and support their tenants. Obviously, first and foremost, we're trying to get people to the various, whether it's tracks, stations, lower concourse, upper concourse, GCM. But again, there are some limitations, in terms of when you first walk into the building, what do you visibly see? You're not going to see an overwhelming digital display, which may be more possible at other stations, both domestically and internationally. But again, more to come on that. I'm actually working on some work with some of our international partners on some of their recommendations. So I'll bring that forward internally to some other people.
That's awesome. And we'd love to work with you guys on the signage, because I think that Henry and Kara have done a lot of work on it, done a lot of research and digging and have some ideas, and maybe it's a great opportunity for collaboration. I know, because I have been told, that there are folks in leadership who would appreciate our collaborating on some projects, and perhaps this is an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily speak out. I mean, again, I'll let, I don't think he's in the room today, but obviously, work through Andy on that particular piece.
Yeah, will do. The other question I have for you is, can you give us an update on Penn Access?
I cannot. That's not in my so-called wheelhouse. I don't remember the last time I think the C&D team presented something in the last month or so. I don't know if it was led by Jamie and team, but I don't have any more information than what's already made available.
Do you know if service is still planning to start next year? Limited service?
I mean, I haven't been led to believe anything otherwise. Obviously, it's not new news. I mean, there's ongoing meetings, conversations regularly with Amtrak, and our C&D team are doing their piece of what they need to do, which is, the build out of the respective stations. But I can't speak for, where we are in 26 and where we need to be by, the start of the program in 27, I believe, is time we're in.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
We will take a trip from Penn Station to Stanford on the train. See.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just on that last point, it does sound like things are still in limbo around Penn Station access. I was talking to a friend who consults for Amtrak just yesterday. So nothing definite one way or another, but we're going to keep pushing. We have a draft op-ed that we're considering getting some signage on. and, you know, encouraging folks to let the Bronx ride, essentially. We know it's possible if Amtrak's a willing partner in this.
Yeah. Awesome.
I will contact my people I know at NJT and ask them about adding that change in terminal that they did in the vending machine.
That would be super.
And I also thought of something yesterday. Somebody actually asked me, it was getting off the A train and going to actually getting an E train at 34th Street to go back to get my train back over the other side. And she asked me an NJT question. So I looked at my app here. I said, why aren't there any signs? You come from 8th Avenue or from 6th Avenue, from 7th Avenue that display New Jersey Transit trains. I mean, they have half the tracks they are using in that station. So I'm going to follow that up also and ask, have them contact MTA about doing it.
It's yeah.
It would be helpful.
You don't know where the elevators are, also you're just doomed.
Finishing up on Jack's project, which unfortunately couldn't get done. Many of the meetings that Andrew and Jerry and I are at don't have a quorum because we make up the majority of the people there, and the other board members are not. So, but you know, they don't seem to care about that.
It's a project and you know, we've been working on it for years.
Yeah.
Before Jack and after Jack. It's a Jack sandwich. So it shall continue. Jack is just part of the beanstalk, shall we say.
What is Tara now?
Yes, I have.
Anxiously waiting.
I can't wait to share these updates. Social media report, is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rosalind asked a bit about the fare policy changes, and no surprise, there is still some discussion happening about that. Definitely less than there used to be, but across the board on both railroads, the biggest concern is still the loss of the 10 trip. People really like the flexibility that they had before with that, and the new option helps with the 10th trip free, but there is just a lot less flexibility there, and people like being able to purchase it in advance. And they don't view the get one free deal after 10 trips as reasonable as an alternative or as much of a financial benefit. And then also just general frustration about the loss of flexibility with the shorter ticket activation window. And a lot of people are getting warnings for activating their ticket a little bit too close. I think people are just a little bit upset when they're not intending to break any rules and then they're getting a warning, and there's still some growing pains there for sure. But less than there used to be, so that is good, but we'll keep monitoring it. We also received an email from a teacher living in New Rochelle who works in the Bronx and commutes every day and has to do a 3-legged transfer. And she was writing to us about how unaffordable it can be to have to go from New Rochelle, transfer at Harlem on 25th, and then go back north, and you have to pay 2 separate fares because you're going back on you're going down to go back up.
Can't you buy tickets between those 2 different lines?
No,
because they're 2 different lines.
they're 2 different lines,
You can't.
and that will become, I think, more of an issue as well once Penn Access is open. But it did bring up a good point about 3-legged transfers, and also I guess that wouldn't apply to the combo or the
You can buy any line. You can, if I buy a ticket in Concord, I can go to Port Jeff as long as it's in the same zone.
You can't buy a actual to Flushing.
I got sure.
more expensive.
Yeah.
Explain to me again what she's trying to do. She's taking the train from New Rochelle.
New Rochelle to 125th,
Okay,
Harlem 125th, and then transferring, I think, to the Hudson line, a different Metro North line, and going back north to the Bronx. It's the easiest way for her to commute from New Rochelle to a school in the Bronx.
It would kind of, I mean, if it's Penn Access, she could go, if it's coming from New Rochelle and it transfers down to that.
I don't think that's where
I
she
think
would
the
go.
problem is like, once you reach one of the stations in Manhattan, 125 or
Yeah.
Grand Central,
Yeah.
the price just.
Yes, that's exactly the issue.
Way up.
that It's
So,
being charged a terminal price, essentially. It's a fare zone issue, but it's also, it just raises the point of people not always going into Manhattan as a.
I could also see why you can't change that in terms of, oh, I'll just buy this ticket from, the Bronx to this other Bronx place and then get off at 125 and save myself some amount of money. If your destination is really, Midtown Manhattan or something.
But that brings up the question, I think, at some point, we talked about the app telling you the best option for your commute, because listening to you, when I was consulting at NYP, because of the issue of getting from New Rochelle over there, I would take Metro North to Fordham and then just take a bus over. Because the bus is right there.
Yeah.
But everybody's not smart enough to figure some of that stuff out. So
Yeah.
if the app, because I mean, it's kind of confusing when you have to get off of your line. So that's just a thought
Yeah.
to
That's a good
consider.
point.
I mean, I was curious as to like what specific station they were getting off at. But I would assume that crosstown bus service is Bronx, she's
It's
too crappy to rely on that.
I just looked up New Rochelle to Riverdale as an example,
Right.
and it says we do not sell tickets between these two stations
New Rochelle
to Riverdale.
Like you can't buy two tickets at once.
I think what's interesting is.
But you couldn't
follow
actually even
ticket.
go to 125th. You could, no, because Riverdale is on the, yeah, Yeah.
The,
right.
I think this just raises.
I don't think so. Is it, let's see.
Yeah,
Because I
Riverdale is
used
harder
to-
to get to. You're right, because I was
be
going
able-
to
Yeah, like a.
168.
When I would sometimes need to travel. To another line, then so from New Hamburg, I'm going down to Harlem and then I'm going back up. Because at the monthly, and the zone was all the way from New Hamburg, but I didn't have to pay the extra. Right, because I'm paying already to already have to, right, as the New Hamburg fare, but, I'm wondering if that applies, I'm buying different trips over to a month. I'm not sure if that rule still applies.
It's a unique circumstance. I'd almost want to
Yeah.
wait for her to like negotiate it.
Can you use a monthly on a different line? Like, yeah.
Well, when they were
On
major,
Long Island, you can.
yeah, when there were like service disruptions, they would on cross honor on the but on Connecticut, and we're talking about New York State, but if it's we're going into Connecticut, there could be an issue because CDOT controls the fares. Yeah. Barry thought they had covered everything, but if always something else comes up.
Be like,
With the three lines, it's always
Yeah.
been tough to see you come across over it. I got away with it with the monthly, but like before that, otherwise you gotta pay twice.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating.
But at least you could buy a ticket from Metro North through Long Island Railroad once,
well, now you can, but it's cheaper to buy it from the most expensive part of your journey to the least, but you have to be at that station. So you have to buy two city tickets, other than a Connect ticket,
The combo ticket.
combo ticket.
Yeah, this is another work in the fare structure. We found many
Yeah.
of them over the years. And we haven't done too many specific recommendations on three-legged transfers, but just thought it was interesting.
Well, because I'm now the regular user of three-legged transfers, but these are really good to
Yeah.
incorporate into that.
Yes, for sure. I think we can look into ways to incorporate that into our fare.
The only issue you mentioned,
Yes, she was reaching out
was
specifically about
timing,
that.
that's not an issue.
The-
The other issue is timing. Sometimes you get to Harlem and then now you're waiting half an hour for the next one.
Yes, I don't believe she mentioned timing. It was mostly, her concern was about the pricing of the
If
ticket.
she's a teacher, she's really.
Mhm.
Yes. But we'll keep monitoring that as well. And then the final issue is ongoing complaints about there's typically crowding still on PM peak trains, and then also there have been a few instances of delays happening out of Grand Central in the PM rush without many announcements, and people would like to see better.
Which lines did she
communication.
cite lines that?
This was a
crowded?
different
The crowded trains.
but typically it's just across the board on most lines, just a general trend. But on the Hudson line, there was a big delay on the 15th that people were upset about not hearing announcements for about an hour.
So regarding the crowded train,
Mhm.
are people utilizing the full extent of the train? Because
That is
I
a
guess
good
maybe
question.
that's because I retired. Now look at the app and I go where there's.
Especially with train spotting, and you can kind of tell where to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, so we typically are just monitoring what people are complaining about on the internet, and so you don't always have the full story.
gotcha.
But people report more crowding in the PM rush, I found. But we don't really know for sure that they might just all be in the same car. I think there are instances where people will tweet and they'll post a screenshot of the app with every single car being red. That happens more so on the Long Island Railroad, but long story short, we don't always know that they're using their apps wisely.
Peter has his hand up.
Peter.
Yeah, I would just, encourage people to use the various features that we have, whether it's the train time chat if they have issues, so they can be alerted to it. Separately, I'm sure you're well aware the customer count survey is live. It's going on through May 3rd. If people have issues, concerns, that's certainly a forum to address it. So we, do that. We have a marketing research in-house team, so they do look at all that data. Certainly, they'll be monitoring the responses and the overall, like, hey, is there any concerns following the January fair product changes? And obviously, we recognize not only were there fair product increases, there was some removals, there changes. So we would anticipate people will certainly, share their points of view, and that's perfectly fine. But that's what we want. We want to be able to understand and ascertain, hey, was the removal of the 10 a good thing or a bad thing overall? Did it move the needle in one direction or another? So.
Awesome. We should, thank you, Peter. We should send the link to the survey out to all of our members.
Well, 2 points on the 10 trip, even though I do like it. I got right to the next to the last one and then I was gone, so I didn't get my free trip. So the issue with that is the time limitation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we've heard.
And in terms of getting better data about train crowding, I would be more interested in having the conductors report when the train is really fully crowded, because they will have a sense of the full train as opposed to the two people who are in the first car and they want to have, seats open.
That's definitely a contractual issue.
That's actually also something that we've spoken to the open data team about, is just ways that they're looking at tracking crowding, and there's different software that they use on the buses versus the railroads, and just standardizing that. And
each railroad car has its own different technology too, because some of them don't have sensors.
Some of them use
The
sensors.
M3s don't have, they don't count people. They're based on like weight and looking at cars.
And there's some algorithms and such too. So that also can be improved, but we definitely agree that the app can be used to track crowding for sure.
And wait, does Peter have something else here?
Yeah, just as a footnote, our service design team is certainly cognizant of the peaks and valleys that we see during whether it's a AM rush, PM rush. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday tends to be higher ridership. Today is a beautiful day in New York City, so wouldn't anticipate people hiding in their home office, but actually using our train service. So we look at the loads of our cars. Certainly if someone makes I hate the word a customer complaint, but provides like, hey, I was on the 8 o'clock train from New Rochelle, train was packed. If they identify what rail car they were in, and we can check in a few different ways. We have an MTA radar app, which, handles our loadway data. So we're able to see, car by car. I'm actually looking at a screen right now, so I can tell you, trains that are coming in. The highest load I'm seeing right now, not unusual because it's midday, is 54% of our is like an 8-car consist. So that means half the train is quote unquote empty. And you know, it goes without saying, a lot of people, for whatever reason, they're uncomfortable sitting in, you know, the middle seat of a 3-seat, you know, row. That's their choice, their decision. They may, in their mind, say that's, you know, busy, or, you know, it's a, you know, they're standees. For us, we'll look at that load and go, all right, there's actually seats, you know, available on that train car, even though there may be 15 to 20 people standing. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. And of course, as you know, people, if they're heading inbound, they all want to sit in the front, you know, first 2 cars. So, you know, we can't tell people go sit in the 8th car of an 8-car consist, and therefore when you arrive in GCT, you have another extra few minutes walk because you're behind, you know, 400 or 500 other people. So, but again, we do look at that information. We do take it into considerations. There are some wildly popular train runs that we have. Any of our trains, even though they're not advertised as an express train per se, they act as an express train. You've probably there's a train, I think, out of Scarsdale. All joking aside, it's kind of nicknamed the banker train, and it's because it, I think, hits Scarsdale, and then I think it goes maybe one other stop, and then it highballs to 125 in GCT, and everyone wants to be on that train because they can be in New York in 30 minutes. So, you know, if they took a different train that's more of an all-stop train, you know, yeah, they might have a little more comfort, but you know, that's the good thing or bad thing about having, you know, popular trains that get people from a final destination point, that gets them at the time that they want to arrive. So, but again, you know, we will look into everything. Safety is top of mind. So if we knew there was a situation, we will certainly take that into account.
Yeah, I didn't have an express train, I had to be here earlier for a meeting. So I had to take 16 stops, all stops local to get here.
There were a lot of kids on the trains today. There were a lot of kids on the trains today.
I was on this side.
I left both of mine at home.
They could come to the meeting.
I know.
Oh, just so you know, I think today is a national day of Take Your Children to Work Day. It's actually at the MTA. You may be seeing our employees with their. My twin girls did not make the trip today, but yes, you may see that. It's I believe it's a national day across the country. So,
You taking them to the Mets game tonight, Peter?
I wear my Met shirt in glory of our 1-game winning streak.
I've got my earrings on. There we go.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
You looking for certain information there. Some astute New Jersey transit commuters, many years ago, I believe it was in the Morristown line, they figured out by buying 2 different tickets, it was cheaper than the one monthly ticket to get to Penn Station, and they got away with it for a while.
Kind of along the lines that one of the social media posts on Reddit was someone who was working on a 10 trip. It was, oh, I've got 9 trips to Yonkers, you know, in the window. And then they were like, oh, I have to make an extra one to Croton Harmon. So they bought that. And they were like, oh no, I didn't get my 10 trips, even though I went beyond Yonkers. What they should have done is like bought the Yonkers and then Yonkers, the Croton, or wherever they were going, and then gotten a free trip. But by the time they realized this, their trip had timed out and they no longer had.
Yeah, it has to be the same exact.
So I just, I got a new phone, yay, but I had to, when I was just looking up buying tickets, I had to move my account over to this phone, and it said, you have a new device, you can only transfer your account to a different device X number of times. Because they don't want you to do something like, does anybody want to buy these, these tickets? Roz, you did raise an interesting point about our priorities. So, you all have copies of them, or if there are any you think that we should add.
Could we put that on the agenda and just go through it, in future meeting?
Sure.
Yes.
Do take a look and let us know if you think we're missing anything, or Or if you have any immediate questions or stuff like that. So.
Yes.
Francis. Thank you for being there. You have anything you'd like to talk about?
No, I went through that list as well. I thought it was pretty all-inclusive. Covered a lot of ground.
If there's anything more, anything less, anything different, please let us know. Well, to be continued, I should say.
All right, so I think next is old business.
Did we hear back from the MTA from our joint letter with the LIRR Community Council?
No, not in the formal way.
Thanks.
New business. So then the next meeting is going to be on May 21st, I think. If the math is wrong.
May 14th.
21st.
21st.
Yeah, 7, 14, 21.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I thank you. So I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days. I always say I appreciate that we have everyone here to have a formal meeting. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Have a great day, all.
Yes, enjoy.
Yeah.
What is that?
It is.
Bye,
not-
thank you.
It's back, yeah.
Yes.